Hi, I'm Tom Stephenson, and welcome to Construction Project Management Tips. I'm a professor and practitioner in construction management, and these tips are meant to help make you smarter, faster, and better at managing your construction projects. If you're new to this community, please click subscribe and also leave a comment and click the notifications and the like icons if you get a chance. So today, what are we going to be discussing? Today we're going to be looking at RFIs. What is a RFI? How is it used? What are some tips about creating an RFI? What are some of the problems with RFIs in the construction industry? So let's jump in. Okay, so an RFI is a request for information. So on a construction project, there's a lot of things going on, and very often we need some answers to questions. And the other thing is, in construction, we would like to document it in some way. If we just ask everybody questions verbally and we get responses, then later on somebody could say, well, I told you that, and maybe you didn't, maybe you did. Or somebody goes ahead and does something based on somebody verbally saying that that's okay, do that. And then later on, they may not remember saying that, and that could cost literally millions of dollars on some construction projects. So we need a methodology to track and document questions in relation to the project, especially questions where if it's misinterpreted or not answered, it has a lot of repercussions on the project. And so we call that an RFI process, request for information. So it generally will contain questions, and really it should be specific. It shouldn't contain a ton of questions. It should revolve around a specific topic that may need to be clarified or redone, or it's really getting into the nitty-gritty of why you can't arrive at a solution on the actual site. So it should be short. It shouldn't be a long kind of drawn out thing, because then you want to make it as succinct as possible. It often relates to errors, omissions, conflicting information on drawings, or maybe misinterpretation by the person that's asking the question. And so you need that clarification. That's actually, that first one is a pretty big one that comes up. There's something missing. We need some more information, and getting that clarified. Site conditions. So there could be some varying site condition that wasn't expected, and you have a request for information about it. Or you're about to do something and you're wondering, does the other party have some information that maybe you haven't been provided with? Material change. Maybe you want to substitute a material because you think this material is going to be, maybe it's going to add more value to the client, it's going to be less costly, or it's going to be easier to get. Supply chain issues, we've talked about those things in other videos. So a material change request could come through as a starting point, an RFI. Value engineering, you're proposing a better way of doing something, perhaps. So if we do this, then this will get this result, and we think it's better for these reasons. A design change. So again, it relates to the value engineering. You might have something that you're thinking needs to be changed because it's not feasible, or it's taking a lot of unnecessary effort that's not going to arrive at a better result. Those types of things. Design clarification, again, like I said, that might be something that you're interpreting, but you're not sure, you want it clarified, and so you're giving it to the consultant, the RFI, to get that kind of response. All of these things are usually time sensitive. Things on construction are time sensitive. I've talked about the critical path in other videos. That means something on the critical path, if it takes longer, nothing changes, your project takes longer. Or even if something has float, it only has so much float or flexibility before it impacts the rest of the project. So an RFI is definitely time sensitive, and so you want to have some sort of dating mechanism that you can sort of clearly show this was the date it was sent, we expect an answer in so many days, and if it takes a lot longer than that, if RFI response rates were pre-agreed in the contract to be a certain amount, say 10 days, and they're turning out to be 30 days, and this is delaying the project. You have some very good documentation if you can connect that to your schedule to show impacts on why your project is being delayed, and you may be able to get some relief in the aspect of time or time and money, depending on the cause. You always want to send it because it is time sensitive. You don't want to dilly-dally or not ask the question or not put it in writing. Every hour, every day that you wait is just making it longer, and that's going to make it worse. So you have to be very proactive in the construction sector for those reasons. Limit the amount of RFIs where possible. You don't want to be firing off RFIs left, right, and center. Number one, you'll probably get a consultant that'll look at it and say, well, it's in the documents. Why don't they just read the documents, right? And they'll stop necessarily responding so quickly, especially when it's like, why are you sending this? If you did your homework, you would be able to find the answer. You want me to do the homework for you. You know, I'm a professor of construction management. Sometimes I get students, you know, they'll send me an email. Oh, what slide number is this on? Or what's this or what's that? Honestly, I don't really want to encourage that, because they should look for themselves those types of things and find it. If I had all my 500 students asking me those questions, I would be I'd have even less hair than I have now. So the same thing for a consultant. They want you to at least have done your prior due diligence of looking through the documentation. And if it's right there, then you should be able to find it. Of course, that doesn't mean occasionally you miss stuff and that sort of thing. But if it's too much, it's too much. The other thing is it costs a lot of money to do RFIs. I think there was one study I was looking at, and it's over $1,000 for each RFI. That's considering you looking at the problem, you writing it up and filling it out, you sending it to the consultant reviewing it, or maybe the crew sending it to their manager, the site supers filling out the forms more complete, sending it to the consultant maybe giving it to one of their consultants to review. Maybe it's a specialty consultant sending it back to the design consultant, then going back to the manager, then going back to the field crew. There's a lot of steps in that, and each person that spends some time, you know, if you take an hourly rate of even like an electrician, at least in the Greater Toronto area, you're looking over $100 an hour. And I'm talking about the burdened rate, but still, that's a cost. And you start transferring that through the flow chart, starts to add up. Also, it takes time to answer them. And so that's why the other research that I was reading, about 20% of RFIs are never answered. So that's another issue from that part. I would assume that a lot of those ones that aren't answered are ones, like I said, that probably could have been answered if they had done their due diligence. But certainly I want, when I send something to the consultant, for them to perk up and to look at it and review it. So I want it to be solid when I do send it. It's doing your homework, if you will. So if you're creating a RFI, clearly define the problem. We'll take a look at a sample in a second, but clearly define the problem. Present ideas to solve the problem. Well, what's better than you suggesting a solution to the problem? And the solution you're going to provide is usually something that you feel is very doable, that you can execute it well without undue costs, and then it'll be up to the consultant to review it if they feel that it's providing the same value, more value, or a lesser value. And then that might determine whether they say yes, no, maybe, what the response is. Actually, we don't want maybe, we want yes or no. Maybe it means that we need more discussion, or there's got to be more data on this, or more information. Prioritize your ideas, because often you can have 3 or 4 solutions to a particular issue. One might provide a more time-sensitive response if that's what's driving the client. One might provide a better quality response if that's what's driving the quality of client. Also the cost, you know. So these are all things that can come into the prioritization aspect. And you really want to sort of sell whatever is your favorite solution to the problems, because they're generally never equal in weighting. Use supporting information to clarify your ideas. photos, pictures worth 1,000 words. It truly is. Drawings, sketches, documents, that can be very helpful as well. And to be quite honest, today, and you can go into YouTube, you could look up Procore, you could look at BIM 360, FieldWire, PlanGrid, like there's quite a few, Bluebeam, quite a few productivity softwares that are designed around making this process quicker and easier and having it all registered, because we do want this stuff documented. So if it goes through the process that it goes from the GC to the consultant approves it, comes back, we've got really good documentation, easy to access, and then that resolves a lot of issues. In construction, we are working towards having fewer problems and fewer claims and less litigation. I don't know that we're always successful at that, the way the complexity of the construction industry has grown in the past number of years, but it's definitely a goal that we should all be striving for as an industry. So a sample, this is actually from my textbook that I wrote on project management, planning and scheduling with American technical publishers. So it's just a sample, but like I said, you can go online and you can find all kinds of sort of samples, but it clearly should say the project, the location of the project, who it's from, so ABC Construction, should be dated, architectural project number, it's got a numbering system, and who you've sent it to. And you're asking a question, right? So what it's referencing, specification, if there's something from the specification. And you're asking, scope of work describes the environmentally sensitive area to the rear of the ravine. Have there been any environmental reviews completed for the surrounding property? And if so, can we be provided with a copy? Request a response by. So you definitely want to say when you want the response by. And, you don't ask for it like yesterday. At least give a couple of days if it's something that's urgent. Some things that are more complex may require that the consultant's got to pass it off to their structural consultant and so forth. That may require a lot more time, right? It might require 10 or 15 days, but you definitely want to have a time request on it. And so then you get the response. So this one actually has the response included. Response, no environmental reviews have been performed. They would, of course, been signed off, or if you're using those productivity software, it would be internalized and it knows who it's going from and who it's to, because there's a digital stamp to them. And that would provide basically ratification or clarification of the documentation. And it would house it all in the productivity software. So that's pretty much what an RFI, request for information, is. It really makes sure there's good documentation, clarification of questions, you have a response, and now you can go ahead with the field staff and actually do the work. Hope that's helped you on the RFI process. We'll have many more PM videos. If you enjoyed this video, please click the subscribe icon and click the notifications, leave a comment, a like, and we'll see you next time. I'm Tom Stephenson, wishing you a wonderful day. Bye for now.